America's richest once turned steel profits into 2,500 public libraries. Today, tech giants cling to billions in company stock. Both claim to shape the future, but only one model has survived for generations, while the other may vanish overnight. Which path truly builds a legacy, and what do we risk by favoring one over the other? Andrew Carnegie's transformation from steel magnate to philanthropist set a template for how industrial wealth could outlast its creator. After selling Carnegie Steel to J.P. Morgan in 1901 for $480 million, Carnegie turned his attention to building institutions that would stand for generations. His vision took shape in the form of over 2,500 public libraries, funded between the 1880s and the 1920s, stretching from small American towns to cities across the globe. These libraries were not just gifts, they were built with endowments to ensure they would remain open long after the headlines faded. In 1898, Carnegie purchased Skibo Castle in Scotland, transforming it into a symbol of his ascent and a gathering place for thinkers and leaders. The estate, with its grand halls and carefully tended grounds, reflected the permanence and stature that old money families sought. Through libraries and estates, Carnegie turned fleeting profits into lasting pillars of civic life, choosing endurance over spectacle. Jeff Bezos launched Amazon from a Seattle garage in 1994, betting on the rise of online commerce. Over the next 2 decades, Amazon's explosive growth made him the world's richest person, with the bulk of his fortune tied to Amazon stock. Unlike old money estates, which are diversified across industries and trusts, Bezos's wealth has ridden the peaks and valleys of the market. In 2020, Amazon's share price soared during the pandemic, pushing his net worth above $200 billion at its height, before later corrections wiped out tens of billions of dollars in a matter of months. This volatility is a defining feature of new money fortunes built on concentrated equity. Yet Bezos has also embraced the spotlight with headline-grabbing pledges. He committed $10 billion to the Bezos Earth Fund, announced in 2020 as one of the largest climate-focused initiatives ever, and $2 billion to the Day One Fund for homelessness and education. These public commitments stand in sharp contrast to the quieter, institution-building philanthropy of past industrialists, reflecting a founder-driven, media-visible approach to legacy. Philanthropy. Henry Ford's fortune grew alongside the rise of the Model T, but his personal style rarely matched the scale of his wealth. At Fair Lane, the estate he built in Dearborn between 1913 and 1915, Ford favored function over grandeur. The house, surrounded by gardens and experimental farmland, reflected his belief in utility and innovation rather than ostentatious display. Ford was most often seen in dark, practical business suits, clothing that could pass for any small-town banker, not the uniform of a Wall Street magnate. He drove his own company's cars, choosing a Ford sedan for both public and private life, and kept his distance from the exclusive clubs and high-society galas that defined the East Coast elite. Instead, Ford's social world revolved around fellow inventors and industrialists, with gatherings that emphasized work and ideas over spectacle. In 1936, his family chartered the Ford Foundation, quietly laying the groundwork for a philanthropic legacy that would outlast the headlines. This blend of industrial success and understated living set a precedent for how old money families could signal status, through restraint, continuity, and endowments rather than through public extravagance. Elon Musk's approach to wealth is anything but quiet. In 2018, he sent a cherry-red Tesla Roadster into orbit atop a SpaceX Falcon Heavy rocket, broadcasting the event live to millions. 2 years later, he announced he would sell nearly all his real estate, including 6 Los Angeles mansions, and he said he would own no house. By mid-2021, property records confirmed the sales, and headlines framed it as a minimalist lifestyle. Yet Musk's public image is not built on restraint. It is shaped by spectacle and constant reinvention. His fortunes rise and fall with Tesla stock, which has seen historic surges and sudden drops, often triggered by his own tweets. The Tesla stock chart, with its sharp peaks and valleys, mirrors the volatility of a brand built on risk and media attention. Musk's choices, whether launching cars into space or living out of a prefab house near SpaceX, turned personal narrative into a tool for shaping markets and driving influence in real time. Jam and J.P. Morgan's influence moved quietly behind the scenes, shaping the course of American finance with a phone call or a private dinner. In 1907, when panic threatened to collapse the banking system, Morgan gathered the city's top financiers in his personal library, locking the doors until they pledged enough capital to steady the markets. That same library, filled with rare manuscripts and masterpieces, opened to the public in 1924 as the Morgan Library and Museum. Here, cultural treasures once reserved for a handful of elites became accessible to all. Morgan's legacy lives not only in boardrooms and balance sheets, but in the enduring institutions built from private collections and discrete networks, spaces where etiquette and exclusivity once governed entry, now transformed into public trust. Mark Zuckerberg's fortune is anchored in Meta, where dual-class shares give him sweeping control, even as he sells stock to fund the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. In 2015, he and Priscilla Chan pledged to give away 99% of their Meta shares over their lifetimes. But rather than a traditional foundation, they chose a limited liability company structure. This model allows the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative to make grants, invest in startups, and fund political advocacy, all under founder direction rather than a board of trustees. Meta's stock chart reveals dramatic swings, yet Zuckerberg's voting power remains steady, blurring the boundary between private philanthropy and corporate influence. Right now, over half of all global billionaires are self-made, yet generational wealth still shapes who holds power. The real divide is not just money, it is who writes tomorrow's rules. What do you think?